Greetings, I'm Dr. Sean Reed, and today I want to talk about 6 tips, 6 tools for seduction, pickup, and dating for older men. Okay, I'm talking today about men today older, 45 and older, although some of my advice will also apply to younger guys. The thing about the older guys is we come from a different generation. In the 1980s and the 1990s, we were much more aggressive about pursuing women. It was a different world then. You know, there wasn't what I call today the war against men. Trying to pick up and seduce women was much more socially acceptable back then. And so men from back then tended to be much more aggressive. On the weekends, we were out aggressively trying to pick up and seduce women in all aspects of our life, school, at the gym, wherever it may be. We tended to be much more aggressive about pursuing women. And so a lot of my older guys come from that generation, and they've had a lot of success, but a lot of them have also been through divorces and have other negative experiences. So whereas the problem in the younger guys is a lot simply are not pursuing women, period. A lot of my older guys have a history of pursuing women, have a history of success, but also have run into things like divorce and bad relationships. So we're talking about two different groups. Today I'm talking about guys mostly 45 and older. All right, so it was a different generation, and my advice today is oriented towards my older guys. Okay, so the first thing you need to understand is don't believe the hype in modern media and social media. This modern narrative is that women don't need men, women don't want men. It's simply BS. It's not true. Women still do want relationships with men. It's just fashionable, and our media, our academia promotes this image that women don't need man, a woman doesn't need a man, a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle, and negative statements like that. It's simply not true. I know a lot of women from my relationships when I was younger, and a lot of these women now are older and single, and they may not publicly admit it, but privately, I know for a fact that all these women want to be in relationships with men. So don't believe first of all, don't believe the media hype. Don't believe that women don't want to have relationships with men. They do. And as we get older, there are more single available women relative to men. So guys, there is a market out there. If you want to have relationships with women, and I argue that really you do, the relationships are out there, okay? So let me talk about some differences for open guys, difference about opening, starting conversations, and seduction for older guys. One thing you need to understand is that opening and gaming is a little more straightforward. We'll talk about this a little bit, but guys today, older guys, you want to rely more on natural game. We're not going to use a lot of canned openers and a lot of opening lines, because as you get older, that sort of behavior becomes less acceptable. So gaming and opening is more straightforward. Again, I'll return to this, but before I do, I need to talk a little bit about the fact that you must look good, you must dress well, you must pay attention to your grooming and your fitness. I just had a video about the importance of this, but it bears repeating. For us older guys, it's critical that we take care of ourselves. So again, I talk about the fact that guys need to be going to the gym. They need to be eating right. One of the things about the gym you need to understand as you get older is you're not going to be able to perform like you did when you were younger. I can't lift the kind of weights I did when I was younger. Don't get turned off, guys. Go to the gym and do what you can, okay? Use lighter weights, do higher reps. We may not run on the treadmill, we may not walk on the treadmill, but get in the gym, pay attention to your fitness, okay? Again, you gotta dress sharp. You gotta have you notice the shirts I always wear are very colorful. It's something known as peacocking. You gotta pay attention to your clothes, to your shoes. That's all extra important as we get older. If you're a really good looking 25-year-old, you might be able to get away with dressing like a slob, but you cannot get away with that when you're older. So again, this point bears repeating. Pay attention to your dressing, your grooming, and your fitness. Okay? All right. So now let's return back to this notion of What do we do? How do we behave at the club? I'm talking mostly today about meeting and seducing women at the club. What you want to be is you want to be a well-mannered, distinguished gentleman, okay? Like I said, we're not using a lot of crazy canned opening lines. You just want to be well-mannered, you want to look distinguished, and you want to look like a gentleman. I'll talk about this in action when I was at the club the other night and how this can play out for you, okay? So we're not, like I said, we're not doing, when you're young, if I'm 28 years old and I'm going after the hottest 23-year-old in the club, I'm going to use different approaches than I would if I was older. I'm going to use more crazy, more off-the-wall lines because so many guys are after these hot 23-year-olds that you have to do something to sort of make yourself different. You don't need to do that when you're older, okay? I'm not saying 50-year-old women are not attractive, but they're not hit on the way that beautiful 23-year-olds are. So again, your approach and your game is different, okay? We're well-mannered, we're distinguished, we're not using, crazy rehearsed lines like jealous girlfriend opener. You don't need to do that, okay? Like I said earlier, guys, these women do want to meet men, okay? That's another point, guys. You have to be age appropriate, okay? If you're 60 years old, you're not going to be going after 21-year-olds. I know it happens sometimes, but as a general rule, you have to target women that are age appropriate. For me, if I'm almost 63, if I were single and I were dating, I would be targeting women in their 40s and their 50s. Okay, so yes, you can date younger. You can go for younger women. A 45-year-old woman would be 18 years younger than me. That's reasonable, but going after a 22-year-old is not reasonable. Okay, and again, I want to get back to how we do this. I want to give some examples from an actual setting. So about 3 weeks ago, my friend Walter was my wingman. We were out at a club. Okay, and when I got there, Walter was sitting. It was a club we go to that plays music, live music, and they have tables in the front. And my friend Walter got there before me, and he was sitting at a table with two women. These women were in their early 50s. Matter of fact, one was 54, I found out. And he was talking to them. So I was well dressed. I had my nice shirts on. I had my brand new stylish cowboy boots. I was well dressed, and I came in and I sat down. I said, "Hello, how are you?" And they were drinking and they were talking, and I just kind of let them talk. And then when appropriate, I would comment, and I had conversation back and forth. Turns out this one gal was married, okay, but the other one was this 54-year-old blonde who had just gone through a divorce. So they were kind of talking about how her divorce had negatively impacted her, and you don't really want to get caught up in a conversation like that. So I just kind of sat back. But as the night progressed, she had a few drinks and she started opening up, and so I started talking to her. Okay, again, just having nice, normal conversations. And then later in the evening, what happened was this guy started hitting on her. Again, this was an older guy. I would say he was late 50s. The problem was, going back to this notion of you have to look good. Yes, he was dressed horribly. He was wearing cargo shorts and those little funky slippers and a shirt that just looked awful. But he was hitting on her and he was putting his hands on her. So what I said to her, I said, "Hey, would you like me to help you out?" And she said, "Yes, please." And so what I did is I let her sit on my lap, and she pretended that she was with me. And then this guy started to leave her alone. Okay. At that moment, of course, I'm married. I didn't pursue it further. But at that moment, I was in. Basically, I could have gotten her number. I could have made out with her. I had gotten her to the point where she was comfortable and basically I had 90% seduced her. Of course, I'm married. I'm not going to move forward on that. But again, I did that because I did all these things right. I came to the club. I was stylish. I looked distinguished, fit. I had proper conversation. I didn't do anything too outlandish in terms of hitting on her. And as a result, I was successful. Like I said, of course, I'm married. I wasn't going to take it any further than her sitting on my lap. But the point is that had I been single, I would have gotten her phone number. I probably could have kissed her on that night, and I probably could have pursued a relationship with her. All right, guys. So if you like what you saw and you heard today, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you want to learn more about my system of dating and seduction, try out my book, check out my book, The Dating Handbook. It's available on Amazon.com. And for you older guys and you younger guys, you need to get back in the game.